Indeed, indeed. We are back at historic Fort Mifflin, located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We have been regular visitors to the fort since 2009. I think some of the draws that bring us back to the fort time and time again is the history here for what the fort stands for in American history, the amount of paranormal activity captured and documented, and last, the amazing staff that work here. Commissioned in 1771, Fort Mifflin sits on Mud Island on the Delaware River below Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, near the Philadelphia airport. During the American Revolutionary War, the British Army bombarded and captured the fort as part of their conquest of Philadelphia in autumn of 1777. Despite the British victory, they were unable to capture General George Washington's army. The capture of the fort, the time it had taken to do so, allowed Washington enough time to escape Philadelphia. Washington would manage to get his army to Valley Forge for the harsh winter there, where he could reorganize, refit his army, and eventually go on to win the war. Thus, Fort Mifflin became known as the fort that saved America. And during the Civil War, you had thousands of Civil War soldiers slowly waste away from starvation and disease, locked in dark prison cells beneath the fort. You had hundreds of Revolutionary War soldiers that were killed during the siege and bombardment of the fort, and that's a perfect recipe for the fort to be haunted. And indeed it is. Areas to see and explore include the guardhouse, the gift shop, the officers' quarters and the soldiers' barracks, the blacksmith shop, the commandant's house, and as mentioned earlier, the fort is very close to the Philadelphia airport, and there are quite a few planes that come through the area. I'm absolutely mesmerized at how close they come, as you'll see in some of our video here. And here we see the Delaware River, where almost 250 years ago, British warships were laying siege to Fort Mifflin in their conquest of Philadelphia. All right, the investigation is currently underway. We have just begun our investigation of Fort Mifflin. It's about 8 p.m. Saturday, September the 10th, 2022. This is Marty and Ashton. We're in the guardhouse, the guard shack here on the grounds. We've had success in this area before, particularly with audio, EVPs, and the spirit box, of which we're going to run here in a little bit. Excited to be here. So, were you a soldier here? Were you an active soldier? Can you see us? Is there a child here with us? Are there children here in here? Sure sounds like a child. Good night. Good night, Ashton. Good night, Marty. We are going in Casemate 1. Actually, we're in the area where there's Casemates 1 through 5. We're going to start over here in Casemate 1, which is where Confederate prisoners of war were kept during the American Civil War. So, let's go. You seeing everything okay? Or is it really dark? Really? I'm surprised. How about now? Still good, or do you need the illuminator? Okay, we're standing here inside Casemate 1. Very excited to be here. This is where they would have housed Confederate prisoners of war during the American Civil War. It's said that they've had as many as 200 in here, which would be extremely cramped. Can't imagine. Even though this is a pretty good sized room, 200 men in here, living, sleeping, trying to survive. So you can get a view of that if I get out of the way, as you can see. It's a pretty good sized area. Can you still hear me, Ash? Okay. Yep, it's definitely, you know, this is pretty much how it would have been without the light. You're in here in the dark. There are no windows really, other than these few little openings here. Follow me. And again, this is Casemate 1. Watch your step and watch your head, okay? It's a challenge. Okay. Come on in here. Again, watch your head. You okay? And this is Casemate 2. This is where they would have held political prisoners during the Civil War. Various other prisoners that might be objective to the war, cause trouble, dissent. They would have been housed in here. And this is much smaller than Casemate 1, so you can imagine. I've said numerous times, and every time I'm in here, the floor it's damp, it's wet. You know, the conditions in here would have been horrible. Little to no light, inadequate food, lack of food, cold in the winter, hot in the summer, mosquitoes, bugs, mice. Actually, that would help as opposed to being alone. I wouldn't want to be in here all by myself in the dark, just staring at these walls where you wouldn't be able to see them. But it gives you an idea, you know, it gives you an idea what it would have been like in here. It's crazy, crazy. Let's go over to Casemate 3. Be careful coming out there, okay? Okay? Watch your head. You're doing great. All right, we're gonna go in Casemate 3. And I swear it's even smaller than Casemate 2. This is small. Is it smaller than 2? Yeah. I think so. I think it's much smaller. Very narrow. Again, this would have been used for prisoners. Various, you know, it could have been Civil War, Revolutionary War. You know, it might even been political opponents too. Dissenters, deserters. Could have been a combination of anything. And again, it's the same condition. The floor is damp, wet, it's dark. And I don't see anything with light here. Maybe there at the end where you could get a little bit of light in here, but this would have been rough. Especially if you're in here for a long period of time. You can imagine you'd probably get sick real easy. Again, like I said, inadequate food or lack of food, lack of water, disease. Think about it too. You want a bathroom in here, you know, and you're crammed in here with other men, their filth. Yep. I can see why a lot of people would have died of illness. Absolutely. You ready to go to Casemate 4. Let's do it. You're good. You're doing real good. This one's even narrow, skinny too. Watch when you come in. Okay. Yeah, there's a table right beside you. Looks like they've kept some stuff in here. Again, same thing, Casemate 4 right here. Watch your head coming out. I just don't want you to trip or fall. I bang into stuff when I'm doing that because it's hard for me, especially in the dark with just our. Okay, you can get a view of that there. That's Casemate 5. We are going in Casemate 5. This is a good size. This is a good size room. I believe they kept a lot of prisoners in here. Deserters, thieves. I've heard some of the worst were in here. William Howe was actually kept in here briefly. William Howe in 1862, he was imprisoned here. He managed to escape somehow. I don't know how he pulled that off, but escaped, was recaptured, taken to Eastern State Penitentiary, kept there. That's right here in Philadelphia. And then brought back here, and he was actually kept over in Casemate 11. We'll be over later tonight. And then of course he was hung out here on the grounds in 1864 for desertion and killing, I guess, a bounty hunter or whoever captured him, or tried to capture him for deserting. There have been reports in here, we've heard stuff. I've never really gotten a lot of, myself personally, a lot of data in here. We've had other people that have had success in here. There have been people that have had their hair pulled, women have had their ponytails pulled or tugged at. I think they even kept like rapists in here or whatnot. There was been some bad people in here. I have slept in here one night. I did spend the whole night in here. Well, I won't say the whole night, but I did sleep in here after our investigation. It's the very first time we were here in 2009. I slept in here. Put an air mattress right here on one of these, as you can see. Pillow. Forgot bug spray. I did have plenty of snacks, candy, chips. It was a grand old time. Becky she felt something the last time we were here. She thought she felt something back in that left-hand corner. Just kind of weird feeling. Come on in. Feels good in here. You are? We are in the soldiers' barracks here at Fort Mifflin. A lot of cool artifacts in here if you take a look around. We haven't done a whole lot of investigating in here over the years, but thought we'd give it a swing tonight. Just kind of going through and exploring some things too as well. It's pretty neat if you look at some of these. Here's I enjoy this right here if you can see it. Does it show right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see Fort Mifflin down here. Right down here, and I guess these would have all been British warships. And there you can see some of the stuff they had out in the pretty neat. Anywho, it's definitely a neat location. Pictures here of General Washington and General William Howe. No relation to the William Howe here from the American Revolution. I like this too as well. You getting that? These spikes. And I never can say the right name for them. You see it?
The illuminator's too bright.
Oops. Barracks de Fries. Tell you what, it was an 11-foot long log with an iron point. Is an actual fragment of 60-foot long pike, which was part of the much larger Delaware River underwater blockade system constructed in 1775. The system was called Casemates de Fries. It was created to prevent the British Navy from assessing Philadelphia. More than 200 of these pikes were anchored and aimed downriver. Their points just feet below the surface of the water, ideal for puncturing the hulls of British ships. And indeed they did. Yeah, just record going over, you don't have to get me. We are heading to the officers' quarters. This is an area known for the Screaming Woman. It's believed she could be a couple of people. Elizabeth Pratt or Elizabeth Bunker. We're getting ready to go into the bottom level here of the officers' quarters. So come on and follow me. This is an area that there are a lot of stories associated with the Screaming Lady. Some people believe her to be Elizabeth Bunker, who died in the 1860s of gastritis, which was very painful. Or other people believe it to possibly be Elizabeth Pratt, who died here grieving over her daughter who had passed away of yellow fever. But it seems as though most things line up more with it possibly being Elizabeth Bunker passing away. There are some stories that say Elizabeth Pratt might have died of yellow fever. I don't know. She could be the Screaming Lady. Either one could be the Screaming Lady. We've not had that happen. I've not had anything where we've captured here in the past of a Screaming Lady, but we have had one interesting experience in this building, and that was back in 2009. Myself and an investigator named Richard Bond was working upstairs. We're doing an EVP session. We had previously been down here, and we worked our way upstairs and was doing an EVP session. Richard asked the question up there, do you like horses? And immediately we heard a response as if something had slammed or fallen off a shelf. We thought something had broken down here, possibly. Came back down here and noticed that this door right here, which happened to be wide open, was slammed shut. And with some force. It had stuck and lodged into the frame, and it took both of us to open this door again. Pretty cool experience. Could have said maybe it was the wind, but there was no really strong breeze or anything that would have caused it to slam with that kind of force. So that got our attention. Another interesting thing, just a year later, we had a group back here in this area, and they were actually doing EVP right in this room, had their backs to this door, and it slammed on them, and it slammed shut tight, stuck in the frame. So if somebody had just taken it, just wham, right up against it. Pretty cool. I don't think it was a breeze, I really don't. I mean, it would have taken a heck of a breeze or something to slam it with that force. And we heard it all the way up there when it happened to us, and we thought something had broken down here. Something had fallen off a shelf or something, but it wasn't. And we've done EVP in here earlier. We did some things with some trigger objects. Did some stuff with the spirit box. Hopefully we'll have some stuff. We did the same thing upstairs. I did think I had heard a female up there from outside. I don't know. I'll go back and review that later. But we'll see. Well, hello. We're here at the West Sallyport. It's an interesting area. A lot of activity here. One involving my girlfriend Lisa from back in 2013. Pretty cool experience over here. Really great EVP coming out too. We have that up on our website. Anyway, let's take a peek down here and stroll. Let me get my recorder first. I always think these doors are cool, you know. Look how thick this is. I mean, That is heavy. That is thick. You know, if you come over here and watch your head when you come in here and watch your step, okay? Just stand right over here on this thing. We'll do some typical audio in here. Now I'll tell you, this is where we got the whistle back last season. Richard Bond and myself were in here. He was, huh?
My shirt was moved.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't know if it like fell from my jeans or something pulled it, but it started.
Document that. Something just, that's possible something tugged at your shirt. You know? As I've said last season, when we were here in March and we were documenting some of the experiences and events that have happened here, I've had the pleasure now of visiting Fort Mifflin. This is my 10th visit. I love it. The first time was back in 2009. Here we are, 2022 now. But 2013, this is Lisa and two other women got a really good EVP right in this room right here. Somewhat of a perverted EVP, I might add. Talking about body weight, when things hang on you a little bit. You get a little bit older, you put on a little bit of weight. There was a male voice in here that said it doesn't hang on you, in a real rough, grunty voice, like it doesn't hang on you. Pretty good EVP. It's actually up on our website as well. Now the ladies that were in here that night, they did not hear it at all. They were completely oblivious to it. And when I did a review on the audio, the male voice was closer to the recorder than the women were. They were a little bit further away. I could tell that by just listening and judging from the distance. I mean, it was easy to judge the distance. The male voice was like it was right up on top of the recorder. And of course, that's at our website. It's also, too, on our last documentation when we talked a little bit about some of the experiences that have happened here at Fort Mifflin. Pretty cool. And that was actually her last investigation. She's not been back here since. That was it for her. She'd had enough. Again, didn't hear it in real time, but once she heard it afterwards, scared the hell out of her. And here we are at Casemate 11, which I would have to say is probably the premier attraction here at Fort Mifflin, probably the most well-known haunted area, and it has quite a story to share. And one of the most famous haunts of Casemate 11 involves a man named William H. Howe, and we go back to the year 1862 during the American Civil War. According to historical documents, Howe was a 25-year-old German farmer who joined the Union Army. Known as a great marksman, he won accolades for his bravery in Fredericksburg, determined to stay on the battlefield day and night. His friends were impressed with his personal courage and indomitable will. But all the will in the world couldn't save him from the battle going on within his own body. He came down with an attack of inflammation of the bowels. Nowadays we call it dysentery. The disease eventually became the #1 killer of all Civil War soldiers. It caused uncontrollable bloody diarrhea. In some cases it would get so severe that its victims would die from dehydration. Maybe it was Howe's indomitable will that made him insistent on not letting his condition get the best of him. When his regiment's medical tent burned down in battle, he left with a group of soldiers to seek treatment in Washington. After seeing a doctor, Howe went home to recover, stuck in bed for 2 months. He did not realize how much trouble was coming his way for being unable to report back to his unit. Howe's enrolling officer come looking for him, but the officer's intentions seemed questionable at best. According to historical accounts, the officer and 3 other men showed up at Howe's house drunk at midnight to fetch him. Howe picked up his gun and fired 2 shots at the rowdy crowd outside his bedroom window to scare them off. He did not realize that both of his shots directly struck his enrolling officer, fatally wounding him. Howe was arrested and imprisoned in Eastern State Penitentiary during his trial before being sentenced to death. He was granted a stay of execution as he pleaded for mercy. He desperately wrote to Abraham Lincoln for help. That mercy never came. Today it's widely believed authorities did not give Howe any leniency because they felt they needed to make an example of him. And indeed they did. An increasing number of soldiers had begun to desert the Union Army. According to records, 200,000 men left their regiments before the war was over. According to newspapers, the community sided with Hal and attended his execution in a show of support. In his final moments, Hal made a statement to the crowd. "I never sought the life of the man I killed. I never wished it, and I feel God will pardon me for taking it as I did. I know my fellow soldiers and officers in the Army never blamed my leaving, as I was an invalid and had no hospital to go to in my regiment." Then a bag was placed over his head, and his neck was snapped in the gallows. Hal's story is far different from the sinister version shared in recent folklore. He's not an evil specter, just a man whose life ended in a tragedy. Hal was originally imprisoned in Casemate 5. Later, when he was recaptured, he was imprisoned in Casemate 11 just before his execution. As you can see, he actually has his carvings, his name right here on the wall, and it's very easy to see actually. Marty and Ashton, Casemate 11. For the Army of Northern Virginia. I believe he was killed in 1865. All right, we are wrapping up down here in Casemate 11. It's been a good evening. We've been down here for a little while doing some audio, just talking, relaxing really. It's been a long night, we're tired. It's been a little warm down in here. There's been mosquitoes all over the place, but we have survived. This is probably the most popular, I'd have to say the most famous location here at Fort Mifflin. Gets more comments, more activity than any place probably within the fort. But the fort is extremely active, has been over the years. I mean, I wouldn't be back here 10 times if I didn't enjoy it, and we didn't get those type of things, capture those type of things. Good data, good personal experiences. Really love the way it's run, operated. It's just a good deal. And it's been a good investigation. A little warmer than the last time. We were here last time in March of 2021. It's much colder then. I think we had temperatures in the upper 30s. Today in the 80s and 60s tonight, so it's been a bit more comfortable. It's been muggy and humid, but we've made do. So this is Marty signing out. I want to thank you for watching our investigation and our documentation of Fort Mifflin. Please visit our website at blackravenparanormal.com. You can find a lot of our other haunted travels there as well. Again, this is Marty with Black Raven Paranormal, Ashton, my cameraman, and our presentation is Haunted Travels.